Okay, class, this is Mr. Briggs here today to help you guys make a crystal radio. Now, crystal radio is a really interesting kind of radio. It's a really great project because it kind of demonstrates a really simple way that we take alternating current that travels in a wave, and make it into direct current, which travels in a straight line. The way we do that is by using a particular piece, the secret component of this, called a germanium diode. And a diode is a semiconductor, which means half the time it's conducting electricity. Electricity can pass through it. Half the time it isn't. In this particular case, with a diode, electricity is allowed to flow through one end, but not out the other. And so what we're going to try to do is utilize that to capture the electricity present in radio waves and get it to power a speaker and listen to the radio, AM radio. So here's what we're going to need. One, your germanium diode, available on Amazon or at any electronics store. A stick. It can be any kind of stick. It can even be a piece of wood, piece of cardboard, whatever. You have to have something to coil the wire around. Okay? And you are going to need lots of copper wire. A good amount, enough to make about 25, at least 25. You'll be able to pick up something with 25, but if you can make as many as 80 coils, you'll get a lot of really great stations, or at least you'll get better quality. The tighter the coils are and the more of them. And you will need some sandpaper to sand some of that insulation off, and the coating. And this is the tricky part. You can either get what's called a crystal radio headset. It's a crystal earpiece. They're kind of hard to come by though. So what I did is I found an old landline phone. And an old landline phone has what's called in it a high impedance speaker. The speakers that are in these are really, really sensitive, and you attach some alligator clips to the cord, and if you hold the wire up and just click these together, you can kind of see a difference in the sound. Or if you put it up to a battery, you can figure out which wires make the speaker work, and use those. So some kind of microphone, some kind of, I'm sorry, not microphone, some kind of speaker. Okay? So let's build this thing. Okay? First thing I'm going to do is grab my tube. Okay? Grab my tube here and my wire. And I'm going to first make sure I've got a good section of wire without any knots in it or anything. This is some beat up old wire. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to sand the tip of this wire off until I get the outside coating of that wire off and I have the bare copper. They like to coat this copper wire, this magnet wire, in a coating of like shellac or paint to kind of protect it and insulate it. You need to take that top layer off in order for the electrons to flow through and get a good connection. Then I like to tie off part of the wire onto your tube. You can also tape that wire down. And then what you have to do is make several nice tight coils. And by several, I mean like 30. Okay? And I like to wind it up, scrunch it down, keep it tight. Or what you can do is you can rotate your stick here, get lots of nice coils. Again, you'll probably be able to pick up some noise if your coils aren't tight, but you're going to get better results for sure. You'll be able, if you rush this, you might be picking up noise more than you'll be picking up actual sound, actual music or talk radio. And let me get some more wire here for my old spool. And this is a little time consuming and a little tricky. I like to hold the wire down as I'm rotating it. You do not want this all to spin off like crazy. And once you've got a decent amount of wire, go ahead and clip that off. and either tape it down or tie it down so you've got that coil there. All right. I might actually really quick grab some tape. Okay, and I'm just going to tape this wire down so it doesn't go anywhere. Doesn't unwind on me. But I'm going to leave a bunch of this coil exposed, right? Because we're going to need that to build our circuit. Okay? So, the next thing you're going to do is, I like to take a piece of cardboard, and we want to make sure we sand off the other end of our coil. Get all that shellac off that other end. And we have our coil set up. That's the trickiest part, to be honest. The rest is all just connecting everything. Now you're going to want to stabilize this in some way. So I like to tape down my coil so it doesn't go around anywhere and keeps it kind of stable. And then it helps to get some thumbtacks or something. Let me see. I'm going to steal some from my other radio. Worst YouTube ever. Okay, and I have these thumbtacks here, and the next step is to kind of set up your actual radio. So I put one thumbtack down, and I wrap the wire around it, and this end is going to be the end that connects to my diode, and then I'm going to put another one down, and this is going to be my ground. Okay, and I take the diode, and this is kind of an important detail. You have to make sure that the black stripe of the diode is pointing away from the coil. Otherwise, the electrons are going to flow in the wrong direction. And I wind that around a little bit so I have my diode nice and secure. Thumbtacks are picking up, so I might just secure them with a little more tape. Okay. And so we have our coil, we have our diode, and now what we do is we take some sandpaper and we rub it along the top of our coil. And what that does is it takes off that top layer of paint and exposes the bare copper wire so that we can tune our radio. And we don't want to do it too hard, but now you have these nice exposed wires there. And now we have got to set this thing up. Well, we hook one end of our headphone up to one end up to the other, and now we've got to set up our connections. And this brings into play the other things we're going to need. You should have one wire hanging out a window. The longer the wire, the better. That's going to be your antenna. Hook your antenna to the hook your antenna, up to the edge here for now, or up somewhere out of the way. The other one, you need to hook this other wire up to like a pipe, or I like to hook it into the ground part of an outlet. Be careful what you're doing though, you don't want to plug it into the power of the outlet. That could kill you. And hook the ground up to the non-diode end of your coil. Then take your headset, put it up to your ear, okay, and take your antenna and just rub your antenna across the coil, and you should start to pick up radio stations. So right now I'm picking up, just barely picking up, some talk radio. I don't know if you're able to hear that or not, but I'm able to pick up some talk radio. It'll be really faint, but if you did it right, it should be there. So that's how you make a really, really, really simple dirt cheap radio. Hope you like our presentation. Good luck making your own.